I paid her salary, her rent, her groceries. She promised to care for me in sickness and in health. She helped me out of bed, helped me shower. I thought we were building something real. But the night my fever spiked, she turned off her phone. I woke up in a Manila hospital bed, alone, confused, and half naked. That's when I realized I wasn't her patient. I was her plan. "Good morning, my honey," Almira whispered as her warm hands slipped under my shoulders. The morning light filtered through our Makati condo windows, casting soft shadows across her face. I felt her gentle strength as she helped me sit up on the edge of the bed. "My legs are still shaky," I admitted, gripping her forearm as she positioned herself between my knees. "That's okay, Norman. I'm here," she said, her voice like silk. "I'll always take care of you, no matter what happens." I looked into her dark eyes and saw something I hadn't seen in 15 years. Not since Margaret died, not since my kids stopped calling. Something that looked like love. "You mean that?" I asked. "I promise you," she said, kissing my forehead. "You're not alone anymore." My heart swelled as she helped me to my feet. The stroke 6 months ago had left me weaker than I wanted to admit, but with Almira, I felt like I could face anything. She guided me to the bathroom, her arm steady around my waist. "The money for this month," I said as we passed my desk. "It's ready for you. You don't have to worry about that now," she replied, but I saw her glance toward the envelope. 20,000 pesos. Same as always. I squeezed her hand. "I want to take care of you too." She stopped walking and turned to face me fully. "Norman, do you know what you mean to me?" My chest tightened with hope. "Tell me. You're my angel, my blessing. God sent you to me when I had nothing." Tears gathered in her eyes. "My family thinks I'm crazy for staying here, for caring for an old American man. But they don't understand." "Understand what?" "That I love you." Those 3 words hit me like lightning. At 68, I thought love was behind me. I thought I'd spend my final years in Toledo, alone in that empty house, waiting for the end. But here in Manila, in this small apartment with this beautiful woman 38 years younger than me, I felt alive again. "I love you too," I whispered. She helped me into the shower, her hands gentle as she washed my back. When I was growing up in Quezon, my grandmother always said the heart doesn't count years, it only counts connections. Smart woman, she would have loved you. Almira's fingers worked shampoo through my gray hair. She always told me to find a man who sees my soul, not just my face. I turned carefully to look at her. Water dripped from my chin as I studied her expression. "Do you really see this working, you and me?" "Norman, age is just a number. What matters is how you make me feel." She reached for the towel. "Safe, cared for, like I matter. You matter more than you know." After helping me dress, she sat beside me at our small kitchen table. I watched her count the money I'd given her, her delicate fingers sorting the bills with practiced efficiency. "My rent is due tomorrow," she said. "I know. That's why I gave it to you early. And my scooter payment. Whatever you need, sweetheart." She looked up at me with those liquid brown eyes. Sometimes I wonder if I'm dreaming. A year ago, I was cleaning offices at night, sleeping on my cousin's couch. Now I have my own place. I have you. I reached across the table and took her hand. "This isn't a dream. This is real. We're real. Promise me something," she said. "Anything. Promise me you won't doubt what we have. I know people will talk. I know they'll say things about us, about why a young woman would choose an older man." Her grip tightened. "But promise me you'll remember this moment, how I'm looking at you right now." "I promise." She leaned over and kissed me softly on the lips. "I'm going to spend the morning at the market. I want to make your favorite adobo tonight. You don't have to cook. I want to. I like taking care of you, Norman. It makes me happy." After she left, I sat in my chair by the window, watching the Manila traffic below. My phone buzzed with a text from my son in Ohio. "Dad, still sending money to that woman? Be careful." I deleted the message without replying. David didn't understand. How could he? He hadn't been alone for 15 years. He hadn't watched his wife die slowly in a hospital bed, hadn't spent countless nights staring at empty rooms, hadn't felt the crushing weight of knowing his best years were behind him. But Almira changed everything. She made me feel like Norman the man, not Norman the patient. Norman the lover, not Norman the burden. When she returned from the market, her arms full of groceries, I helped her put everything away. The chicken looks fresh, I said. Only the best for my honey. She smiled and wrapped her arms around me from behind as I stood at the counter. Norman? Yes? Do you ever wonder what your family thinks about us? I turned in her arms. Does it matter? Sometimes I worry they think I'm just after your money. Are you? Her face fell. How can you ask me that? I'm sorry. I didn't mean it like that. I know you have money, Norman, but that's not why I stay. I stay because when I'm with you, I feel complete. She pressed her face against my chest. I've never felt this way before. Not with boys my age, not with anyone. Almira, I mean it. You make me want to be better. You're helping me with my caregiving certificate. You supported my ESL classes. You see potential in me that I didn't even know was there. I held her tighter. Because I love you, and I love you, more than you'll ever know. That evening, as we ate her delicious adobo, I watched her face in the candlelight. She was telling me about her plans to open a small caregiving business someday, her eyes bright with dreams. You could be my business partner, she said playfully. I'd like that. Really? Really. I want to be part of your future, Almira. However long I have left. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Don't talk like that. You have many years left. We have many years left. I brought her hand to my lips and kissed it gently. I believe you. Later that night, as she helped me into bed, she whispered, Thank you for trusting me with your heart. Thank you for wanting it. She curled up beside me, her head on my chest. Norman? I'll never leave you. No matter what happens, no matter how sick you get. I promise. I fell asleep holding her, believing every word. At 68 years old, I thought I had finally found the love that would carry me home. You're the American gentleman who called about caregiving services? Almira had asked, standing in the doorway of my Makati apartment 2 years earlier. She wore a simple blue dress and carried a small leather bag, her long black hair pulled back in a neat ponytail. That's me, Norman Walker. I extended my hand, surprised by the firmness of her grip. Please come in. Thank you, sir. She stepped inside, her dark eyes scanning the sparse furniture, the medical equipment I'd had delivered from the hospital. You're recovering from surgery? Hip replacement. The doctors in Ohio wanted to charge me $30,000. Here, I paid $8,000. I gestured toward the couch. Please, sit. Can I get you coffee? Water? Water would be nice. She settled onto the edge of the cushions, her posture formal but relaxed. The agency told me you need assistance with daily activities? Showering, cooking, maybe some light housework. I handed her a glass of water, noting how she thanked me in both English and Tagalog. You speak beautiful English. I studied at university before. She paused, her smile flickering. Before my father got sick, I had to stop to help my family. I'm sorry to hear that. It's okay. Family comes first. She sipped her water carefully. The agency mentioned you're retired? What did you do in America? Aircraft mechanic. Worked on commercial jets for 35 years. I sat down across from her, feeling oddly nervous. What about you? Besides caregiving, I teach English online sometimes, children mostly. I enjoy helping people learn. Something about her quiet confidence put me at ease. How long have you been doing this kind of work? 2 years. Since I moved to Manila. She set down her glass. Can I ask you something, sir? Of course. And please call me Norman. Norman. She tested my name carefully. Why did you come to the Philippines? Most Americans your age, they stay close to family. I looked out the window at the busy Manila street below. My wife died 5 years ago. Cancer. My kids have their own lives in different states. I was sitting in my house in Toledo, Ohio, realizing I could die and nobody would find me for weeks. That must have been very lonely. It was. Then I started reading about retirement in Southeast Asia. The weather, the cost of living, the people. I met her eyes. I figured if I'm going to be alone, I might as well be alone somewhere warm. But you don't have to be alone. The words came out soft, almost intimate. I mean, you have support now. People to help you. Do I? I asked. Really? She leaned forward slightly. Norman, can I tell you something? Most of my clients, they see me as invisible. The helper. The person who cleans and cooks and disappears. But talking to you now, I feel seen. Because you are. You're clearly intelligent, caring. You shouldn't be invisible to anyone. A genuine smile spread across her face. Thank you for saying that. I'm just being honest. We talked for another hour about books, movies, her dreams of returning to school. When she finally stood to leave, I felt disappointed. So you'll take the position? I asked. I would like to, yes. The hours the agency mentioned work well for me. What if we adjusted them, made them more flexible? What do you mean? I mean, what if you stayed here sometimes? Overnight, when I'm having bad days with the hip, I have a guest room. I could pay you extra. She considered this carefully. That would be helpful for me financially. Good. Then it's settled. She extended her hand again. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, Norman. Thank you for taking it. After she left, I found myself looking forward to her return the next day. I couldn't remember the last time I'd felt anticipation about anything. The following morning, she arrived early with fresh pandesal and coffee. I thought you might enjoy a proper Filipino breakfast, she said, setting the bag on my kitchen counter. You didn't have to do that. I wanted to. She began arranging plates. In my culture, food is how we show care. Then I'm already feeling very cared for. She laughed, a musical sound that filled the apartment. You're easy to please. Not usually, asked my ex-wife. The words slipped out before I could stop them. Ex-wife? I thought you said your wife died? She did. But we were divorced for 3 years before that. Got back together when she got sick. I watched Almira's face for judgment. Found none. It's complicated. Love usually is. She handed me a piece of bread. Try this with the coffee. It's how we eat it in my province. I took a bite, surprised by the simple perfection of warm bread and strong coffee. This is wonderful. My grandmother's recipe for the coffee. She had a small café in our town. Is she still alive? No. She passed last year. Almira's voice grew soft. She raised me when my parents couldn't. Taught me everything about taking care of people. She sounds like a remarkable woman. She was. She always said the secret to caring for someone isn't in your hands. It's in your heart. Smart advice. She gave me a lot of smart advice. Almira, she would say, when you find someone worth caring for, you don't count the cost. You don't watch the clock. You just care. I studied her face as she spoke about her grandmother. It sounds like she was talking about more than just caregiving. Maybe she was. Almira met my eyes. Norman, can I ask you something personal? Sure. Are you lonely here? Really lonely? The question caught me off guard with its directness. Yes, more than I expected to be. I understand that feeling. She sat down beside me. Sometimes I think loneliness is worse than physical pain. Why are you lonely? You're young, beautiful, smart. Beautiful girls have hearts too, and sometimes those hearts get broken. She smiled sadly. My last relationship ended badly. He said I was too serious, too focused on taking care of people instead of having fun. That doesn't sound like a flaw to me. No. It sounds like he didn't appreciate what he had. We finished breakfast in comfortable silence. As she helped me with my morning shower, her touch was professional but gentle. Norman? Yes? Yesterday, when you asked me to stay overnight sometimes, was that just about your hip? I paused, water running down my face. What do you mean? I mean, are you asking for medical care or are you asking for company? Honestly? Both. Okay. I can do both. You sure? I'm sure. She handed me a towel. But can I ask for something in return? Of course. Can we be honest with each other? About what this is? What do you think this is? I think you're a good man who's tired of being alone. And I think I'm a woman who's tired of feeling invisible. She helped me step out of the shower. Maybe we can help each other. I'd like that very much. That night she stayed for dinner. We watched a Filipino movie with English subtitles, her head eventually finding its way to my shoulder. Norman? This feels nice. It does. Is that okay? That it feels nice? I looked down at her. More than okay. She tilted her face up toward mine. Good. Because I was starting to worry I was crossing a line. What line? The line between caring for someone and caring about someone. I crossed that line yesterday, I admitted. Really? Really. She smiled and settled back against my shoulder. Then we're both in trouble. The best kind of trouble. 6 months later, she brought me flowers for my birthday. White roses, my favorite. How did you know? I asked. You told me once that your wife loved white roses. I figured you might too. I do, thank you. There's something else. She sat down beside me on the couch. Something I need to tell you. My heart jumped. What? I've been thinking about us a lot lately. About what we mean to each other. And I realized that somewhere along the way, I stopped thinking of you as a client. She took my hand. I started thinking of you as more. More? Norman, I think I'm falling in love with you. The words hung in the air between us. I felt tears prick my eyes. I love you too, Almira. Really? Really? She leaned in and kissed me then, soft and sweet and full of promise. When we broke apart, she was crying. Happy tears? I asked. The happiest. Good. Because I intend to make you very happy. You already do, Norman. You already do. That night, she didn't sleep in the guest room. She slept beside me, her head on my chest, her breathing soft and even. I lay awake for hours, hardly believing my luck. At 66 years old, I had found love again. Real love, the kind that makes you grateful to wake up every morning. I should have known it was too good to be true. The rent on your place in Cubao is how much? I asked, looking up from my laptop where I'd been reviewing my monthly expenses. 12,000 pesos, Almira replied from the kitchen where she was preparing my evening medications. But Norman, you don't need to. I want to. I closed the laptop and turned in my chair. You're here with me most nights anyway. Why should you pay rent on a place you barely use? She walked over with a glass of water and my pills. That's very generous, but I don't want you to feel like you have to take care of me. I don't feel like I have to. I want to. I took the medications and swallowed them one by one. Besides, you take better care of me than any nurse I've ever had. That's because I love you, not because it's my job. Exactly my point. I pulled her down onto my lap gently. Let me love you back. She settled against me with a soft sigh. You know what my family says about us? I can imagine. They think I'm crazy. Almira, my cousin, tells me, you could marry any boy in the province. Why are you wasting time with an old American? What do you tell them? I tell them they don't understand. That age doesn't matter when two hearts connect. She looked up at me. But sometimes, late at night, I wonder if they're right. About what? About whether this can really work long term. I felt my chest tighten. What do you mean? I mean, what happens when you get sicker? When I'm not enough to take care of you? What happens to us then? We'll figure it out together. Promise? I promise. I kissed her forehead. But for now, can we just enjoy what we have? Yes. She snuggled closer. Speaking of which, I have news. Good news? I think so. Remember I told you about wanting to renew my caregiving certificate? Of course. I got accepted into the advanced program. It starts next month. Almira, that's wonderful. The tuition is 15,000 pesos. Consider it paid. She sat up to look at me directly. Norman, you can't keep. Yes, I can. This is an investment in your future. Our future. Our future? I told you. I want to be part of your dreams. If you want to build a caregiving business, I want to help you build it. Tears gathered in her eyes. You really mean that? I really mean that. The next morning, she was up early, excited about her first day of classes. How do I look? She asked, turning around in her new uniform. Professional. Beautiful. Perfect. She came over and straightened my shirt collar. I'm nervous. You'll be amazing. What if the other students think I don't belong there? Then they're idiots. She laughed. You always know what to say. I just tell you the truth. Norman, there's something else I want to discuss with you. What's that? I've been thinking about adding ESL tutoring to my schedule. There's good money in it, and I could do it online from here. That sounds like a great idea. I'd need a better laptop. And a headset. Maybe a webcam. Whatever you need. The whole setup would probably cost around 20,000 pesos. Like I said, whatever you need. She threw her arms around me. You're too good to me. Impossible. You deserve everything. That afternoon, while she was in class, I went to the electronics store in Makati and bought her the best laptop they had, along with all the accessories she'd mentioned. When she came home that evening, I had everything set up at a small desk by the window. Norman, she gasped when she saw it. This is too much. Nothing is too much for you. She sat down at the new setup, running her fingers over the keyboard. This is a really expensive laptop. You're worth it. How can you be so sure? Because you make me happy. Happier than I've been in years. I sat on the bed behind her. When Margaret was sick, I felt helpless all the time, like I couldn't do anything to make her life better. But with you, I can help. I can contribute to your happiness, your success. Is that what this is? Making up for Margaret? The question stung. No. This is about loving you. She turned around in the chair. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to sound ungrateful. You don't sound ungrateful. You sound scared. I am scared. Of what? Of needing you too much. Of getting used to this life and then losing it. You're not going to lose it. How can you promise that? Because I'm not going anywhere. And I hope you're not either. I'm not. She stood up and came to sit beside me on the bed. Norman, can I tell you something? Always. I've never been taken care of before. Not like this. It's wonderful and terrifying at the same time. Tell me about the terrifying part. What if you get tired of me? What if you realize I'm just a provincial girl who doesn't really belong in your world? My world is wherever you are now. You say that now, but, Almira. I took her face in my hands. Look at me. She met my eyes. I love you, not because you take care of me. Not because you're young or beautiful, though you are. I love you because of who you are. Your kindness, your dreams, your strength. Really? Really? Then can I ask you something? Anything. Can we make this official? What do you mean? I mean, can we stop pretending this is just a caregiver arrangement? Can we be honest about what we are to each other? What are we to each other? We're partners. We're in love. We're building a life together. Then let's do it officially. I stood up and went to my dresser, pulling out a small velvet box I'd been hiding for weeks. Her eyes went wide. Norman, what is that? Open it and see. Her hands shook as she opened the box to reveal a simple gold ring with a small diamond. It's not an engagement ring, I said quickly. I know that would be complicated for you with your family, with the law. But it's a promise ring. A promise that this is real. That we're real. Norman. Tears streamed down her face. Is that a yes? That's a yes. I slipped the ring onto her finger, and she held up her hand to admire it in the light. It's beautiful. You're beautiful. She launched herself into my arms, kissing me with a passion that took my breath away. I love you so much, she whispered against my lips. I love you too. That night, as we lay in bed, she traced circles on my chest with her finger. Norman? Are you happy? Happier than I ever thought possible. Good, because I want to spend the rest of my life making you this happy. Promise? I promise. I fell asleep holding her, the ring on her finger catching the moonlight. For the first time in years, the future felt bright and full of possibility. If only I had known that promises, like hearts, can be so easily broken. Where were you last night? I asked as Almira slipped into bed beside me at nearly 2 a.m. Her hair smelled like cigarette smoke and perfume I didn't recognize. I told you, Norman, Mrs. Chen needed extra help. Her husband had a bad night. Until 2 a.m.? Sometimes caregiving doesn't follow a schedule. She turned away from me, pulling the blanket up to her chin. You know that. I stared at her back in the darkness. I tried calling you. My phone was on silent. I didn't want to disturb the patient. Your phone is never on silent. Norman, please, I'm exhausted. Can we not do this now? I wanted to push, wanted to ask about the perfume, about why she'd been taking so many extra shifts lately. But something in her voice warned me off. Okay, I whispered. Good night. She didn't respond. The next morning, she was up early again, already dressed when I woke up. You're leaving? I asked, checking the clock. It was barely 7 a.m. I have to meet a new client. Potential long-term contract. What kind of contract? Elderly businessman. Needs help organizing his medications, some companionship. She was putting on makeup at the mirror, not looking at me. It could be really good money. How good? Enough to start saving for our future. I thought we were already saving for our future. She paused with her lipstick halfway to her mouth. What do you mean? I mean the money I've been giving you. For the certificate program, the laptop, your rent. That's different. That's you taking care of me. She finished applying the lipstick. This is me contributing. Building something of my own. Our own. Right. Our own. Something felt off, but I couldn't put my finger on what. Will you be home for dinner? I'm not sure. This client wants to meet in the evening, discuss his needs. At night? Norman, not everyone keeps your schedule. Her voice had an edge I hadn't heard before. Some people work during the day. I just miss you. We barely see each other anymore. She came over and kissed my forehead, the gesture feeling more obligatory than affectionate. I know, honey. Once I get this client settled, things will go back to normal. Promise? Promise. But things didn't go back to normal. If anything, they got worse. She started coming home later and later, always with stories about difficult clients, demanding families, emergency situations. Her phone was constantly buzzing with messages, but she'd flip it face down whenever I walked into the room. Who keeps texting you? I asked one evening as her phone lit up for the 5th time during dinner. Work stuff. The agency is very demanding about updates. Can't it wait until after we eat? Unfortunately, no. She picked up the phone and started typing rapidly. Sorry, this will just take a second. I watched her face as she typed, noting how her expression softened, how her lips curved into a slight smile. That wasn't the face of someone dealing with work stress. Almira. 1 second, Norman. Almira. What? She looked up, irritation flashing in her eyes. Put the phone away, please. I'm almost done. Now. Something in my tone must have gotten through because she set the phone down, though she left it face up on the table. There. Happy? Not really. What's wrong now? What's wrong is that I feel like I'm living with a stranger. That's not fair, isn't it? When's the last time we had a real conversation? When's the last time you seemed happy to see me? I'm here every night, aren't I? Barely. And when you are here, you're somewhere else in your head. Her phone buzzed again. Her eyes immediately darted to the screen. See? I said. Right there. That's what I'm talking about. Norman, you're being paranoid. Am I? Because it feels like you'd rather be anywhere but here. That's not true. Then prove it. Turn off your phone. Spend one evening with me. Just me. I can't just turn off my phone. What if there's an emergency? What kind of emergency? A client could need me. At 10 p.m.? Sick people don't follow your convenient schedule, Norman. The words hit me like a slap. My convenient schedule? I didn't mean it like that. How did you mean it? She sighed heavily. I meant that sometimes I have responsibilities beyond this apartment. Beyond me. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. Her phone buzzed again. This time she grabbed it immediately. Don't, I said. It could be important. More important than us? She looked at me for a long moment, her thumb hovering over the phone. Then she swiped to read the message. I stood up from the table. I'm going to bed. Norman, wait. For what? For you to finish your conversation with whoever is more important than I am? You're being dramatic. I'm being honest. I left her at the table with her phone. That night, she slept in the guest room. The next morning, I tried a different approach. I was thinking, I said as she prepared to leave for another client meeting. Maybe we could go out tonight. That little restaurant you like in Makati? I can't tonight. Tomorrow then? I don't know my schedule yet. When will you know? Norman, please don't pressure me. I'm not pressuring you. I'm asking my girlfriend to dinner. I'll let you know, okay? But she didn't let me know. That evening, she didn't come home at all. I texted her at 8 p.m. Where are you? No response. I called at 9 p.m. Straight to voicemail. By midnight, I was pacing the apartment, alternating between worry and anger. Was she hurt? Had something happened? Or was she simply choosing to be somewhere else? She finally walked in at 3 a.m., moving quietly through the apartment like she hoped I wouldn't wake up. Almira. She froze in the hallway. Norman? I thought you were asleep. Where were you? I told you I had a client meeting. Until 3 a.m. It ran late. Then I went for coffee with some of the other caregivers. We were discussing business opportunities. Which caregivers? You don't know them. Try me. Norman, why are you interrogating me? Because something is wrong, and you won't talk to me about it. Nothing is wrong. Then why do you smell like men's cologne? She went very still. What? Your clothes, your hair. You smell like cologne. I was in a taxi with a driver who wore too much cologne. For 3 hours? Norman, you're being ridiculous. Am I? Yes. You're being jealous and possessive, and frankly, it's not attractive. The accusation stung because part of me wondered if she was right. Was I being paranoid? Was I pushing her away with my suspicions? I'm sorry, I said. I just miss you. I know, and I'm sorry I've been so busy lately. She came over and hugged me, but it felt mechanical, like she was going through the motions. Things will settle down soon. When? Soon. Almira, look at me. She tilted her face up reluctantly. Are we okay? Of course we're okay. Really? Really? But even as she said it, I could see the lie in her eyes. We weren't okay. We hadn't been okay for weeks. And deep down I knew that whatever was happening, whatever was pulling her away from me, it wasn't work. It was someone else. The chills started around dinner time. I was sitting at the kitchen table, waiting for Almira to come home from another client meeting, when the first wave of shivers ran through my body. Just tired, I told myself, pulling on a sweater. By 8 p.m., I was burning up. I stumbled to the bathroom and checked my temperature. 102 degrees. The thermometer's red numbers glowed ominously in the dim light. I tried calling Almira. Straight to voicemail. Almira, it's me. I'm not feeling well. Can you come home, please? I texted her. High fever. Need you. No response. By 9 p.m., my fever had climbed to 103. I was shivering so violently I could barely hold my phone steady. The apartment felt like it was spinning around me. I called again. Still voicemail. Almira, please. I'm really sick. Where are you? My head was pounding. Every muscle in my body ached. I tried to make it to the kitchen for water, but my legs felt like rubber. I grabbed onto the wall for support. Another text. Emergency. Please call me. Nothing. The last thing I remembered clearly was stumbling toward the bedroom, my vision blurring at the edges. I collapsed onto the bed fully clothed, shaking uncontrollably. Almira, I whispered into the empty apartment. Please come home. But she didn't come home. I woke up sometime in the middle of the night, soaked in sweat and completely disoriented. For a moment, I couldn't remember where I was. The room was spinning, and I felt like I was going to vomit. I reached for my phone with trembling hands. 4 a.m. Still no messages from Almira. I tried calling her one more time. The phone rang and rang, then went to voicemail. Almira, I don't understand where you are. I'm really sick. I need help. I tried to get up to use the bathroom, but my legs gave out completely. I hit the floor hard, my shoulders slamming against the bedside table. Help, I called out weakly, knowing no one could hear me. I lay there on the cold tile floor, shivering and sweating at the same time. My phone was on the bed, just a few feet away, but it might as well have been on the moon. Hours passed. The sun started coming up, casting strange shadows across the apartment. I drifted in and out of consciousness, my mind playing tricks on me. I thought I heard Almira's voice calling my name, but when I opened my eyes, the apartment was still empty. Where are you? I whispered to the silence. Around 7 a.m., I heard footsteps in the hallway outside. Heavy, purposeful steps. Not Almira's light gait. Help. I tried to call out, but my voice was barely a croak. The footsteps stopped outside my door. Then I heard knocking. Sir? Sir? Are you okay? It was Lanny, the building's helper. She cleaned the common areas and sometimes checked on the elderly residents. Help. I managed to say a little louder. Sir, I'm going to use my master key. Are you decent? I tried to answer but couldn't form words. I heard the key turning in the lock. Jesus, Mary, Joseph. Lonnie gasped when she saw me on the floor. Sir, what happened? Sick. I croaked. She was already on her phone, speaking rapid Tagalog to someone. Within minutes, I heard sirens. Sir, can you hear me? A paramedic was kneeling beside me, checking my pulse. Can you tell me your name? Norman Walker. How long have you been like this? All night. Since yesterday. Is there someone we should call? Family? A caregiver? I gave them Almira's number. They tried calling while loading me onto a stretcher. No answer, the paramedic told his partner. Keep trying, I whispered. In the ambulance, I watched Manila rush past through the small window. The city looked different somehow, harsher and more distant than I remembered. Sir, we're taking you to Makati Medical, the paramedic said. Your fever is very high. We need to get you cooled down and hydrated. I nodded weakly, my phone clutched in my hand. I tried calling Almira one more time. Ring. 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 Voicemail. Almira, I'm in an ambulance. They're taking me to Makati Medical. Please come, please. At the hospital, everything became a blur of harsh lights and urgent voices. Nurses surrounded me, taking my temperature, drawing blood, hooking me up to IV drips. "Sir, do you have any emergency contacts besides the number you gave us?" a nurse asked. "Just her. Just Almira. We'll keep trying." But even as she said it, I could see the pity in her eyes. She'd seen this before. Elderly expats with young Filipino girlfriends who disappeared when things got difficult. "How long has it been since you've eaten?" a doctor asked, shining a light in my eyes. "I don't remember." "Any medications you're supposed to be taking?" "Almira handles my medications." "The woman we've been trying to reach?" "Yes." He made a note on his chart, his expression carefully neutral. They moved me to a room eventually. A small, sterile space with white walls and a window overlooking the parking lot. I watched people come and go, families visiting patients, bringing flowers and food and love. No one came for me. I kept checking my phone, hoping for a message, a missed call, anything. But the screen stayed empty except for the voicemails I'd left for Almira. "Sir?" A different nurse appeared at my bedside. "How are you feeling?" "Better. The fever's down." "That's good." "Are you expecting any visitors today?" "I don't know." She adjusted my IV bag, her movements gentle and professional. "Sir, can I ask you something?" "Sure." "This woman you've been trying to reach. How long have you known her?" 2 years. "And she lives with you?" "Yes. Why?" "I'm just wondering why she hasn't responded to any of the calls or messages." "I don't know." But I did know. Deep down, in the part of my heart I'd been trying to ignore for weeks, I knew exactly why Almira wasn't answering. She wasn't coming because she didn't want to come. She wasn't here because she didn't want to be here. And all those late nights, all those mysterious clients, all those text messages she wouldn't let me see, they weren't about work. They were about someone else. "Sir?" The nurse was still standing there. "Is there anyone else we can call? Any other family or friends?" I looked at my phone one more time. Still nothing from Almira. No missed calls. No texts asking how I was or where I'd gone. Just silence. "No," I said finally. "There's no one else." And for the first time since I'd gotten sick, I started to cry. Not from the fever or the pain or the fear. I cried because I finally understood. I wasn't sick because of some virus or infection. I was sick because the woman I loved, the woman I'd given everything to, the woman who'd promised to care for me in sickness and in health, had abandoned me when I needed her most. And maybe that hurt worse than any fever ever could. "Good morning, Mr. Walker. How are we feeling today?" The nurse's voice was cheerful, but I could hear the forced quality to it, the way healthcare workers talk to patients who have no visitors. "Better," I lied, staring at the ceiling tiles I'd already memorized. "The fever broke sometime last night." "That's excellent news. Dr. Santos will want to run a few more tests, but you should be able to go home soon." Home. The word felt hollow. What was I going home to? An empty apartment that smelled like Almira's perfume but contained none of her warmth? "Has anyone called?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. The nurse's smile faltered slightly. "No, sir. No calls." It had been 3 days. 72 hours since I'd collapsed in my apartment, since Lonnie had found me on the floor, since the ambulance had rushed me here with my fever spiking at 104 degrees. 3 days, and Almira hadn't even tried to reach me once. I picked up my phone for the 100th time, scrolling through our message history. The last text from her was from 4 days ago. "Working late again. Don't wait up." How had I missed it? How had I not seen that she was already gone, emotionally if not physically? "Mr. Walker?" Another nurse appeared, this one older, with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. "I'm Nurse Garcia. I'll be taking care of you today." "Thank you." She busied herself checking my IV, adjusting my blankets. "You know, in all my years working here, I've learned that healing happens faster when we're not alone." "I'm not alone." "No? Where is everyone then?" I looked away. "She's busy. Busy." Nurse Garcia repeated the word like she was tasting something bitter. "Must be very important business. She has clients. Other people who need her. And what about you? Don't you need her too?" The question hung in the air. I didn't have an answer, or rather, I had an answer I didn't want to face. "Sir, can I tell you something?" Nurse Garcia sat down in the chair beside my bed. "I've been working in this hospital for 23 years. I've seen a lot of patients in your situation." "What situation is that?" "Foreign men who come to the Philippines looking for companionship. Usually after a lost wife died, kids don't call, something like that." I felt my cheeks burn. "It's not like that, isn't it? We love each other. I'm sure you do love her." The question is whether she loves you back. She does. Where is she then? I stared at the white wall, counting the tiny holes in the acoustic tiles. Anything to avoid looking at the pity in Nurse Garcia's eyes. Sometimes, she continued gently, we want something so badly that we convince ourselves it's real, even when all the evidence says otherwise. You don't know what you're talking about, don't I? Sir, in 3 days, no one has come to see you. No one has called to check on you. No one has even asked what hospital you're in. She doesn't know I'm here, doesn't she? Mr. Walker, the building helper who found you, said she tried calling your girlfriend multiple times. Left messages explaining where you were being taken. My heart stopped. Lonnie called her? Several times. Your girlfriend's phone was working fine. She just chose not to answer. The room began to spin again, but this time it wasn't from fever. This was something much worse. This was the moment when denial finally cracked and let reality seep in. That's not possible, I whispered. I'm sorry, sir, but it is. I fumbled for my phone, scrolling through the call log. There they were, 4 missed calls from Lonnie's number, all on the day I was brought in. And next to each one, a voicemail notification. With shaking fingers, I played the first message. Hello, Miss Almira? This is Lonnie from Makati Heights. I clean the building where Mr. Norman lives. Ma'am, he's very sick. The ambulance just took him to Makati Medical Center. He was asking for you. The second message. Miss Almira, this is Lonnie again. Mr. Norman is in the hospital, room 302. He needs you to come. The third. Ma'am, please call me back. Mr. Norman is asking for you. The nurses need to know about his medications. The fourth. Miss Almira, I don't understand why you're not answering. Mr. Norman loves you very much. He keeps saying your name. Please come to the hospital. I set the phone down with trembling hands. The evidence was right there in black and white. Almira knew exactly where I was. She knew I was sick, scared, and alone, and she had chosen to stay away. I'm sorry you had to hear that, Nurse Garcia said softly. Why? I asked, my voice cracking. Why would she do this? Only she can answer that question. But I gave her everything. I paid her rent, bought her a scooter, paid for her classes. I thought we were building a life together. Sir, can I ask you something personal? I nodded. How much money have you given her over the past 2 years? I did the math in my head. Rent, groceries, the laptop, the certificate program, clothes, jewelry, emergency money for her family. Maybe $60,000. Nurse Garcia's expression didn't change, but I saw something flicker in her eyes. That's a lot of money for a young woman in the Philippines. I wanted to help her. I'm sure you did. But sometimes when we help someone too much, we become more valuable as a provider than as a person. The words hit me like a physical blow. You think she was using me? I think you should ask yourself, when was the last time she did something for you without being paid for it? When was the last time she chose to spend time with you instead of working? When was the last time she seemed genuinely happy to see you? I tried to remember, but the memories felt fuzzy and distant. Had there been genuine moments? Or had I been so desperate for love that I'd misinterpreted gratitude for affection? She said she loved me. I whispered. People say a lot of things when money is involved. But the ring. I gave her a promise ring, and she cried. She seemed so happy. Sir, if someone gave you a diamond ring worth several months' salary, wouldn't you cry too? I closed my eyes, feeling tears leak out from under my lids. 2 years of my life. 2 years of believing I'd found something real, something precious. 2 years of planning a future with someone who was apparently planning a future without me. What do I do now? I asked. You get better. You go home. And you decide whether you want to keep pretending or start living in reality. But I love her. I know you do. And that's the tragedy of it. After Nurse Garcia left, I lay in the hospital bed staring at my phone. I could call Almira one more time. I could beg her to come, to explain, to give me some reason that made sense of the last 3 days. But what would be the point? She'd already given me her answer through her silence. I thought about the last time we'd made love, just a week ago. She'd seemed distant, going through the motions. Afterward, she'd immediately gotten up to shower, not wanting to lie in bed and talk like we used to. I thought about how she'd started sleeping in the guest room more often, claiming I snored too much. I thought about how she'd stopped bringing me little gifts, stopped cooking my favorite meals, stopped asking about my day. All the signs had been there. I'd just been too afraid to see them. My phone buzzed with a text. For a split second, my heart leaped. Maybe it was Almira. Finally responding, finally coming to explain. But it was just my bank, notifying me of a transaction. A withdrawal of 5,000 pesos from the ATM near our apartment. Our apartment. Where Almira clearly still was, using my ATM card while I lay in a hospital bed. I laughed then, a bitter sound that echoed off the white walls. Even now, even after everything, she was still taking my money. The only difference was that now she didn't even have to pretend to care about me to get it. Taxi, sir? The hospital security guard helped me into the back seat, my discharge papers clutched in my shaking hands. Makati Heights, I told the driver, though part of me wanted to tell him to just drive. Anywhere but back to the apartment where I'd have to face the truth. The ride through Manila felt surreal. 3 days ago I'd made this same journey in an ambulance, burning with fever and calling Almira's name. Now I was returning alone, my fever gone, but something much deeper broken inside me. You okay, sir? The driver asked, glancing at me in the rearview mirror. I will be. But I wasn't sure I meant it. When we pulled up to the building, Lonnie was sweeping the lobby. She looked up as I walked in, her face full of concern. Mr. Norman, you're back. How are you feeling? Better, thank you. And Lonnie? I stopped at the elevator. Thank you for finding me. For calling the ambulance. Of course, sir. That's what neighbors do. She paused, her expression careful. Sir, I tried many times to call Miss Almira. I know. I heard the messages. She never called back. I know. Lonnie studied my face, seeming to understand everything I wasn't saying. I'm sorry, sir. Not your fault. The elevator ride to the 8th floor felt endless. When I reached my door, I stood there for a long moment, key in hand. Part of me still hoped I'd find Almira inside, worried sick, with some explanation that made sense of everything. But when I opened the door, the apartment felt empty in a way that had nothing to do with sound. Almira? I called out anyway. Silence. I walked through the room slowly, taking inventory. Her toothbrush was gone from the bathroom. Her clothes were missing from the closet. The laptop I'd bought her was nowhere to be seen. In the kitchen, I opened the refrigerator. Empty except for a few condiments and a bottle of water. She'd even taken the food. I checked my desk where I kept emergency cash. The envelope that usually held 5,000 pesos was empty. But it was in the bedroom that I found the thing that broke my heart completely. Draped over the back of the chair where she used to sit and do her ESL tutoring was a single piece of clothing, a cheap pink sweater I'd seen her wear a dozen times. It was faded and had a small hole near the left elbow. That's what she'd left behind. Not a note explaining where she'd gone or why. Not an apology for disappearing while I was sick. Not even a lie about coming back. Just an old sweater she didn't want anymore. I picked it up and held it to my face. It still smelled like her shampoo, sweet and floral. For a moment, I was transported back to better days. When she'd wear this sweater while making breakfast, when she'd curl up beside me on the couch, when I believed her when she said she loved me. Then I set it down and walked away. I spent the next hour going through the apartment methodically, looking for any other signs of her presence. I found a hair tie under the bathroom sink, a pen with her name on it, a single earring that had rolled under the dresser. These tiny remnants of our life together somehow hurt more than finding nothing at all. Finally, I sat down at my laptop and logged into our shared Gmail account, the one where she used to send me sweet messages during the day, photos of things that reminded her of me, links to articles she thought I'd find interesting. The password had been changed. I tried every combination I could think of. Her birthday, mine, the day we met, the day I gave her the ring. Nothing worked. She'd locked me out of our shared digital life as completely as she'd walked out of our physical one. I opened my banking app next. Over the past week, while I was getting sicker and eventually hospitalized, she'd made several withdrawals. Small amounts, nothing that would trigger fraud alerts. But together, they added up to nearly 8,000 pesos. Money for her escape, I realized. She'd been planning this. I tried calling her one more time, knowing it was pointless. The number was disconnected. Of course it was. I sat in the quiet apartment as the sun set over Manila, painting the walls in shades of orange and pink. This had been our favorite time of day. We'd sit together on the small balcony, watching the city come alive with evening lights, planning our future. What a joke that seemed now. A knock at the door interrupted my thoughts. For a wild moment, I thought it might be Almira, coming back with explanations and apologies. But it was just the building manager, Mr. Santos. Mr. Walker, good to see you're feeling better. Thank you. I wanted to let you know, Miss Almira came by yesterday morning. She returned her key and said to tell you she'd moved out. Did she say where she was going? No, sir. She just said her family needed her back in the province. Her family? Yes, sir. She seemed very upset about it. Emergency situation, she said. I almost laughed. Even her exit story was a lie. Did she leave anything else? Any message? No, sir. Just the key. After he left, I sat back down in the chair facing the balcony. The pink sweater was still draped over the other chair, a ghost of the woman I thought I knew. I picked up my phone and scrolled through our old text messages, looking for clues I'd missed. Reading them now, with clear eyes, I could see the pattern. Her messages had become shorter over the past few months. Less personal, more focused on practical matters, money, schedules, errands. When had I love you become okay? When had good morning my honey become running late? When had I can't wait to see you become don't wait up? The signs had been there all along. I'd just been too desperate to see them. My neighbor's dog started barking, a sound that used to annoy me. Now it was just another reminder that life was continuing around me, indifferent to my broken heart. I thought about calling my son in Ohio, telling him what had happened. But I could already hear his voice. Dad, I warned you about this. I told you to be careful. He'd been right, of course. They'd all been right. The friends who'd raised eyebrows when I told them about Almira. The neighbors who'd smiled politely but exchanged glances when we walked by together. The expat community that had seen this story play out 100 times before. I'd been the aging fool who thought he could buy love, and Almira had been the smart young woman who let him. The cruel part was that I didn't even hate her for it. How could I? She'd been honest in her own way. She'd given me 2 years of companionship, of feeling needed and wanted. She'd made me feel alive again when I'd been slowly dying of loneliness. Maybe that was worth $60,000. Maybe that was the going rate for the illusion of love. I stood up and walked to the balcony, looking out over the city that had promised me a fresh start and delivered a harsh lesson instead. Somewhere out there, Almira was starting a new life with the money I'd given her. Maybe she was with someone else, someone younger, someone who didn't need help getting out of bed in the morning. I hoped she was happy. I really did. Because one of us should be. Beautiful sunrise today, sir. The young woman's voice was gentle as she handed me my morning coffee. Maria, my new helper, was efficient and kind, but she kept appropriate boundaries. She called me sir, arrived exactly on time, and left when her shift ended. Thank you, Maria. I accepted the cup with hands that still shook slightly, though whether from age or lingering weakness from my hospital stay, I couldn't say. We were sitting by Manila Bay, something I'd started doing every morning since leaving the hospital 2 months ago. The wheelchair was new, my balance had never fully recovered after the fever, but the view was the same as always. Endless water stretching toward the horizon, fishermen already heading out for the day, the city slowly awakening behind us. Will you need anything else before I start on the apartment? Maria asked. No, I'm fine here for a while. I'll come back for you in an hour. Perfect. She walked away, her footsteps light on the concrete promenade. Maria was 22, saving money to finish her nursing degree. She worked for me 3 days a week, earning enough to help support her family while maintaining her studies. It was a business arrangement, clear and honest, with no pretense of anything deeper. I preferred it that way now. I sipped my coffee and watched a young couple walking hand in hand along the bay. The woman was Filipina, maybe 25. The man was Western, probably in his 50s. She was laughing at something he'd said, her face bright with what looked like genuine joy. Maybe theirs was real. Maybe they'd found something I'd only thought I had. I hope so. I raised my wrist to check the time and caught sight of the cheap brown leather bracelet I still wore. Almira had bought it for me at a street market during our first month together. For luck, she'd said, fastening it around my wrist. My grandmother always said brown leather brings protection to travelers. I'd never taken it off. People ask me sometimes, Maria, the physical therapist, the few expat friends I'd made, why I still wore it. Why I kept this reminder of someone who'd hurt me so badly. I never knew how to explain that it wasn't about Almira anymore. It was about the lesson. The lesson that love, real love, doesn't disappear when you get sick. It doesn't take your money and run when you need it most. It doesn't turn off its phone when you're burning with fever in an empty apartment. Real love shows up. Real love stays. Real love doesn't calculate the cost. I'd had real love once, with Margaret. Even during our divorce, even through all our fights about money and the kids and my drinking, there had been something genuine underneath. Something that brought us back together when cancer tried to take her away from all of us. Margaret had died holding my hand, worried about whether I'd be okay without her. That was love. What I'd had with Almira was something else entirely. A transaction dressed up as romance, companionship with a price tag, loneliness so desperate it was willing to pay for the illusion of being wanted. "Excuse me, sir?" A voice interrupted my thoughts. I looked up to see a Filipino man about my age, wearing a hospital maintenance uniform. "Yes? Are you Mr. Norman? The American man who was in Makati Medical a few months ago?" "I am." "I thought so. I'm Jonah. I was one of your nurses." "Oh yes, I remember you. How are you feeling, sir?" "Much better, thank you." "Good. Good." He sat down on the bench beside my wheelchair without invitation. "Sir, can I tell you something?" "Sure." "That night, when you were very sick, when your fever was so high, I heard you calling for someone. A woman's name." "Almira." "Yes, Almira." Jonah looked out at the water. "I went home that night and told my wife about you. About how you kept asking for this woman who never came." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because my wife." She started crying. She said, "That poor man, he doesn't understand yet." "Understand what?" "That some people, they see kindness as weakness. They see love as opportunity." Jonah turned to look at me directly. "But sir, the fact that you loved someone who didn't deserve it, that doesn't make you foolish. It makes you human." "I feel pretty foolish." "Why? Because you believed someone when they said they cared about you? Because you tried to help someone build a better life?" Jonah shook his head. "Sir, in my 20 years working in that hospital, I've seen every kind of person. Rich, poor, young, old, Filipino, foreign. And I can tell you something, the world needs more people who love too much, not fewer. Even when it gets us hurt? Especially then." We sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the bay. A group of children was playing in the shallow water near the shore, their laughter carrying on the breeze. "Jonah?" "Yes, sir?" "Do you think she ever cared about me at all? Even a little?" "I don't know, sir. Only she knows that. I keep wondering if any of it was real." "Sir? Can I tell you what I think?" "Please." "I think maybe it was real for her at the beginning. Maybe she did care, in her own way. But I also think that when you're desperate for money, for a better life, for a way out, it becomes very easy to convince yourself that what you're doing is love." "So you think she was lying to herself too?" "I think she was a young woman in a difficult situation who met a kind man with resources. And I think she told herself whatever she needed to tell herself to feel okay about accepting your help. But when you got sick, she couldn't pretend anymore. Because real love doesn't run away when things get hard." I touched the bracelet on my wrist, feeling the worn leather under my fingers. "Do you hate her?" Jonah asked. "No." "Good. Hatred is too heavy to carry around. I'm sad about it. Disappointed. But not angry anymore." "That's wisdom, sir. Or just exhaustion. Sometimes they're the same thing." Maria appeared at the end of the promenade, walking back toward us. My hour was up. "I should go," I told Jonah. "Of course." "But sir?" "What's that?" "Don't let what happened with her stop you from trusting people. There are good people in this world. People who will care about you for who you are, not what you can give them. Like Maria, like me. Like the woman at the market who remembers how you like your coffee. Like the security guard who always asks about your health." Jonah stood up. "The world is full of small kindnesses, sir. Don't let one big betrayal blind you to them." As Maria wheeled me back toward the building, I thought about what Jonah had said. He was right about the small kindnesses. They were everywhere if you knew how to look. Maria, who always brought me an extra blanket without being asked. Mr. Santos, who'd waived the building fees for the month I was in the hospital. Lonnie, who still checked on me every morning and brought me extra food from her family's meals. These people didn't love me the way I'd thought Almira did. but they cared about me in genuine, uncomplicated ways. They saw me as a human being worthy of basic kindness, not as a source of money or opportunity. Maybe that was enough. Maybe that was even better. Back in my apartment, I sat by the window and looked at the pink sweater still draped over the chair. I'd kept it there for 2 months, unable to throw it away but unable to put it somewhere else either. Today, finally, I stood up and picked it up. "Thank you," I said to it, and to the ghost of the woman who'd worn it. "Thank you for showing me what I was worth to you. Thank you for teaching me the difference between being needed and being loved. Thank you for leaving when you did, instead of stringing me along for years." I folded the sweater carefully and placed it in a box with the few other things she'd left behind. Then I carried the box to the building's donation bin. Someone else could use a pink sweater. Someone who would appreciate it for what it was, not for what it represented. That evening, as I watched the sunset from my balcony, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months: peace. Not happiness exactly, but a quiet acceptance of what my life was and what it wasn't. I was a 68-year-old man living alone in a foreign country. I had enough money to be comfortable, enough health to get by, and enough sense now to know the difference between companionship and love. It wasn't the life I'd planned when I first arrived in Manila. It wasn't the fairy tale romance I'd dreamed of when I met Almira. But it was honest, it was real, and after everything I'd been through, that felt like enough. I looked down at the bracelet on my wrist one more time. Tomorrow, I decided, I would take it off. Not because I was angry or bitter, but because I was ready to stop carrying someone else's lie with me everywhere I went. I was ready to start wearing my own truth instead, and my truth was simple. I was a man who had loved deeply and been hurt badly, and I was still here, still breathing, still capable of kindness, still able to appreciate a beautiful sunrise over Manila Bay. That was enough. That was more than enough. That was everything.